Hi everybody, this is Karak with Angrycentaurgaming and welcome to a new episode of Why, where you ask cool questions and I try to give you somewhat cool answers or try to find somebody in the industry who can. I have two questions today that I'm going to answer. The first is about Witcher 3 and my enjoyment of the story and in particular the side missions. And basically the question just came from some people who haven't played it and a couple of people who just got it. What exactly do I feel is different within Witcher 3 than other open world games? And I think I just have to say the word reward. There's almost a dogmatic desire in open world games to fill the world with things to do and places to go and visit and explore. And I think that that's great. I think that's okay, even though some games become iconathons where you open up a map and there's a tower everywhere. And I think we all know what publisher and developers do that many times. And I think that what happens with those games and why you hear complaints about those games in particular is because though those items are there is a distinct lack of true reward versus tangible physical reward or game reward. And the gamer is now finding out and identifying there's a difference between the two. A game reward, you know, whether it be money or a sword and so forth, does have some kind of feedback loop. You get it, you use it possibly, and you move on. But over time, it can actually become the same kind of treadmill as, say, leveling and so forth. And you see that complaint quite often. I think that's a legitimate thing that many people either like or dislike, but they'll agree to, that there's almost a dual treadmill going on in some of these games. However, one of the great things about a game like Witcher 3 is it rewards you on an almost intellectual level, a more narrative level, as well as the tangible item level or achievement level. And what do I mean by that? Well, whenever a bad thing happens in a game, you guys hear me many times say something along the lines of this. I can't believe that the developer, the programmer, the QA, and everybody allowed this to happen because multiple voices were in a room and somebody didn't stand up and say, what the fuck? Same thing in reverse for good things that happen in games. A bunch of people had to get together and they had to fight for it. They had to feel that there was a tangible reason for that to be in a game. And whatever that tangible reason was, it stayed within the game, and for better or worse, we rate them on it. Now, with Witcher 3, what's amazing about that is the game's overall main plot is sort of the skeleton of a body. It's moving the game forward using the meat of the side missions and the action and all of the systems to tell a story from beginning to end. But the side missions here are different than other games. There are many games with side missions. Dragon Age Inquisition has a virtual boatload of them. Many GTA games, almost all Ubisoft games, have tons of collectathons and side missions. However, because of the general lack of resources put into them, including cutscenes, things like excellent voice acting, true gameplay, storytelling, it can feel like a treadmill. Where Witcher 3 slightly deviates from that is there is such a high level of resource management put towards it, where multiple people identified side quests as being important and needing their own cutscenes and needing them to be voice acted well and needing them to make sense within the story and be poignant. There becomes an overall reward system that happens that's not in a lot of other games. And that reward is almost a storytelling in and of itself. When I get together with people and we talk about Witcher 3, there's a difference between when I get together and talk to people about a GTA and so forth. Many times when you look at even threads, people talking about the same story, the same side story. There's one or two really cool side quests in a game, maybe 3 or 4, maybe a bunch, but there's ones that rise to the top, you know, and people notice that. Within Witcher 3, it's almost like they're all that good. And that's not hyperbole. That's just a level of writing mastery and a level of plot desire and design that goes into it to create this overall umbrella effect. Instead of a closed umbrella where the main story gets all the resources and some stuff filters out to the side, it's like Witcher 3 had the umbrella open and the resources hit and widely fell upon the game world. So the locations are interesting. They have a tangible physical reward within the game, whether it be money or whether it be an item. But they also have a narrative and emotional reward for gamers to understand what's going on in the side worlds and also create some poignancy there. Create that wonderment if what you're doing is going to make a difference. You know, there's a couple quests that do that in many games, but it's usually not all the quests. And in Witcher 3, I'm having a difficult time even identifying a couple quests that didn't really do that, didn't feed back that loop to me, even if they seem goofy at first. There's something about them that sticks with you, and it shows because that quality of attention and that desire to design correctly is focused on everything instead of one thing. And they've said it before, you know, we wanted to make the game that we wanted to play. We wanted to make the game that nobody else was making. And I really do believe that deep down inside, somewhere in a design document, somebody said, these all can't be collectathons. They have to reward the gamer not only on that instant feedback loop, but they have to reward the gamer in the longer term emotional feedback loop, the desire to discuss, the desire to wonder about the experience. That's a big deal, guys. It's fucking amazing. It's something that main stories in many games actually do have. And you see people talking about it, the desire to discuss. It happens in many games that are very difficult. You know, right now we have roguelike games and so forth where people are discussing the so intricate systems that you can almost not even describe them to somebody unless you really sit down. The cool thing about Witcher 3 is that's happening with the story. And in an environment where we have all these writers and many times the story is last, and many times it's the worst part of a game. Many times some people even say, you know what, I don't really care about the story because I've sort of grown accustomed to them not being that good. It's the gameplay that matters. It's really refreshing to see a game that goes out there and tries to make sure that the world itself is just absolutely balls set interesting. I love it. I think to me, that's how I answer that. Reward, but of a different level, of an emotional level, a desire to discuss level. So I'd really like to know if people agree or disagree with me on that. It's very important to me to see if that's sort of what everybody else feels or if they have a different idea or maybe they hated the side quests and the side locations. The next question is about VR. First of all, Oculus announced what their minimum requirements are, and I think everybody needs to remember that minimum requirements are for, I guess you would call the optimum experience, and that doesn't stop many games from being able to be played on the Oculus and so forth. So it's really important to remember that. Certain companies, certain web-based pages have stated things like, okay, this is where the PS4 can shine. PS4 and its VR, or Xbox One and its VR, whoever releases what, any company that releases, they all have an ability to shine, and here's why. Guys, this is awesome, man. We are at a time in history, in gaming, where a completely new type of overall experience is going to happen. The new Quakes, the new Dooms, the new Ultimas will be created with VR. Not all games will be VR. We're not going to, that's not even close. What I'm saying is a completely new technology, a technology that can at least easily be accepted by much of the mainstream is coming out, and we will be able to see these new classics being made. I think that's the first thing and the most important thing as a gamer who loves games need to remember. People can be as negative as they want, but the fact is we're living in a time where some really cool shit's coming. Dude, they've got freaking cardboard boxes that you can transform and put your telephone into. That's not going to be the highest level of fidelity, but it's available and it's out there and it's going to offer a new experience, just like touch offered a new experience when telephones and Android devices and iOS devices started doing tablets and so forth. It's just such an awesome time to be around. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's just be honest. The Oculus is probably the slightly higher end folks. And many of those people, let's say they can't afford an Oculus or they can't afford that video card. Many of those people aren't going to jump to a console if they don't already have one, because a console isn't just the console. It's the console and the game and the VR. So that's not instantly enticing. It's not like it's super cheap. If they have both, they get to make a decision on if they want the higher end fidelity or if they want an experience of VR that may have some limitations, but also one cool thing about a console style VR is that they're all going to be shooting for the exact same hardware spec, which does in the end make optimization a little bit easier. Unfortunately, it also stops them from being able to plan for super powerful cards coming later and so forth. Both of them have positive and negatives, whether it be price or whether it be usability or whether it be splitting a user base and so forth. But I think it doesn't really allow for any one group to suddenly become the master. There's so many people fighting it out. And if you've been in the industry very long, if you follow the industry very long, we all know whether it be games, peripherals, consoles, so forth, every couple years there's a huge surprise, even a game style, whether it be an FPS that surprises us like a Halo, you know, when everybody thought that kind of thing would just never come to a console. There's always a surprise, and this is a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be surprised. I know people are against surprise. A lot of people are, and I'm not saying you guys are. Most of you guys are following me, so you know that when I talk, it's usually some surprising, stupid thing coming out of my mouth. I think that for the most part, though, many people, if they want to fight against surprise, that's one thing, but it's going to happen regardless. It's fucking awesome. It's so cool to know that the Oculus is becoming a consumer product backed up by Facebook. It's so cool to know that a console is getting a true VR headset. Now, we don't know release dates and all that stuff. It could be forever. We're not quite sure what's going on there. But the fact is, they're planning it. Microsoft has their plans. Who knows what Nintendo's doing? Who knows if there's another company that's going to come out? Who knows if Amazon's got something, right? Who knows? They all have the ability to surprise us and to wow us with technology. It is a rare time indeed. It is an awesome time to be alive and to be into gamings. And that's my into it. I don't have much more to say other than sit back and embrace the whirlwind of awesome that's coming your way and be excited for those things, because right now you're living in a time that doesn't actually happen that often in gaming. So anyway, that's it for me. If you liked the video, hit like. If you disliked it, hit dislike. I'd like to hear your comments if you guys agree, disagree. What do you think about VR? What do you think about Witcher 3? Do you like side stories? What side stories in other games do you feel have really eclipsed the side stories in other games? Is there a side story that you remember, or a side quest, or a side plot that really surprised you, or a location that completely amazed you? Put it in the comments. You guys know me. I'll probably try to respond if I obviously can. I love to read those things, and I try to read them all. If you get a chance, go to Patreon. If not, I understand, and peace out.